Hello and welcome to the locker room, where we talk all things mental health and mental well-being with a different guest each week. This week we have got the man himself, Karl from Newcastle Fans TV. How's it going, big man?
Very good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. We're making this a bit of a regular thing now, aren't we?
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this one because obviously you mentioned to me about the locker room before. I love the name, by the way, mate. I
Thank you
think it's
very
going to do,
much.
not
I'm just
just because
gonna
it's mental health,
go.
but I think it's going to do bits anyway. I love the branding. It'll be sick.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, yeah.
We had this conversation when we first launched the peer group at the foundation. We were looking for a name, and I pushed hard for the locker room because I just, for me, growing up, it was always a sanctuary where we went and talked absolute nonsense. But you got
Yeah.
everything out in the open. If there was problems, you'd be in the locker room.
Yeah.
But it got vetoed because not everyone's had the same memories of a locker room as I have, which
I
is fair.
suppose, yeah, I suppose, we talk about mental health. I'm looking back at it as a kid, being in like a football side and a rugby side, the things that went on in the locker room could be deemed as
Yeah,
bad for
carnage.
some people. Yeah,
Yeah, carnage. There were definitely. I'll always remember people being to one side absolutely petrified of being in the locker room. But then there's us that were airing our differences, talking. For me, it's the first experience I had of opening up and talking to my pals.
Yeah,
But I can see
definitely.
why other people might be a bit like, well, no, I hated the locker room.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
we went with Hawaiian in the end, which is a fantastic name, and I love it so much. So well done, Foundation. It's not as good as the locker room, Oliver Bell, but it will do.
I'll
But
say no more.
that's it. I'm not bitter about it at all, Oliver Bell. But so we're here today to obviously talk all things mental health, predominantly men's mental health, and the impact it has had on us, the society around us, our friendship groups, and everything in between. And obviously, me and you have spoke about it before. We've actually done a video before, which I shared on Twitter the other week, I think it was. And we were both very open and very constructive with what we said. And I just wanted to sort of get it out onto this platform in the hopes that it's going to open people's eyes and help people share. And I couldn't think of anyone better to sort of start the journey with than you.
No, I appreciate that, mate. And like you said, I think the difference is we both camera quality is better for both of us. So hopefully, because it's difficult. Like as much as the message is really good, you want it to look good as well to keep people engaged.
Definitely.
Although the message is the main important, the main thing, absolutely. But even since then, because I think I look back at it as well, and I think it's been was it nearly 6 months? Surely not. Is it 6
Yeah, it
months?
would have been. It was Suicide Prevention Week, which I think was about 6 months ago.
Jesus, yeah. So like even since then, since we've had that conversation, I've probably, like yourself, learned even more about myself because of what we've all been going through. Like it's been very difficult. People have been in lots of different situations. Like I've had more things to deal with over the last year than I have done in a very long time. And they're different things, but they have affected my mental health in like the similar way, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
for example, like I was working a very good job before and lucky enough to buy my first house with my partner last year. Brilliant. But we stupidly did it throughout lockdown. So that's been difficult because then I decided that I was going to go and start my own business with a couple of friends of mine. Again, doing that during lockdown, probably not the best idea. But I'd gone from earning a decent amount of money to basically putting myself on the breadline. Like we've got enough money to live, but I'm literally on the breadline, and that's to make my business work. So we're taking out, people will know, when you start your own business, you want to take as little out of it as possible. So it's been difficult, like really difficult. Like it's just different challenges. I'm looking at things, whereas last year or the year before, we're going out and spending hundreds of pounds on nothing, like absolutely nothing. Like lockdown has been such a horrible thing, but also a positive thing for me because it's literally stripped everything back. And I've literally been able to look at what I really don't need in my life and what I do need. Like money was a big stress for me. And getting to a point where I'm literally just paying my mortgage and I don't spend money on anything else other than my mortgage and my phone bill. Like literally that is it. And I'm okay with that because that's all I need. Like I don't need anything else other than my partner, my dog, my family. That's it. I don't care about anything else. And materialistic things are completely gone for me. Whereas before, I was a complete opposite for me. Like I wanted all nice clothes. I'd spend money on whatever, but I'm just not that person anymore. And it's unfortunate, but it's taken like a global pandemic to kind of realize, even though you thought you were a good person, like deep down, you're quite like materialistic. And I just took a toll on my mental health. But yeah, like that's all positive, and obviously I've got a little boy on the way, which is absolutely amazing. So it's
Little
been
Shearer.
little Shearer. It's been such an up and down like year. It's crazy, but I'm just like I've completely changed from like the 6 months like that we spoke about, because like my story is I know I've just waffled there, so if we've lost viewers already, I apologize. My story is basically the first time I felt any sort of anxiety, I was on a holiday with my mum, dad, and my brother. They'd worked their absolute arses off. This was like 16 years ago. I think I was 14. Worked their asses off, like literally into the ground, and they were able to take myself and my brother to Florida for 2 weeks. Amazing holiday. But the first 2 days we were there, I just had this like feeling of just being scared for no reason whatsoever. Like it wasn't that I was away from home or anything. I just had this gnawing, like scared feeling. I couldn't put my finger on it at all. To the point where we're going through like Universal Studios, and I've never been like this kind of nervous person, to where like I'd have to read what every ride was. So like you had like these VR rides that you would go
Yeah.
on, and it was not even like it's not even a roller coaster or anything. Like I'd have to read what it was before I went in there, because I was scared, like just scared all the time. And I was like, "What is this?" And it went away after like 3 or 4 days, and I didn't feel anything again for maybe 2 more years. Come around to my GCSEs in the middle of an English lesson, and I just went really dizzy, felt really spaced out. And from then on, for about a year, I was just like every day, just had this anxious feeling. It just come to a point where I was putting all this pressure on myself to do well at school, um, and went in the complete opposite direction. I kind of got myself in a hole. Like I was expected to do well at my GCSEs, and I was doing all right for year 9 and 10, and then I just got to a point where I was just pissing about all the time, wasting what I was doing, and got myself into a hole where I was like, shit, I need to do something. I've only got like 3 months to get things sorted. So not really like thinking about it too much. I was just doing what I was doing, but then it got to a point where it all got on top of me. So I left school, literally, got my bare minimum GCSEs for me at the time was like C's and B's and C's and pretty much everything. Then I had no plan to what I was going to do. I didn't know whether I was going to stay on at sixth form or go to college. So a friend of mine, like, because we were pretty decent at football at that age, to be fair. A friend of mine was going to do like a scholarship. So you basically go and sign with you go for trials for a semi-professional team, and they basically, you train with them every morning, and then you do your college work in the afternoon. I don't know if anyone's watched like Last Chance U. It's like junior college NFL football sort of stuff. It's pretty similar
started
to
it
that.
last night as it goes.
It's that sort of, it's like the English equivalent of like that sort of thing, like where the people who don't really know what they're doing are quite decent at sport. Like you've got an opportunity to go and do something. So when I did that for a year, but I was literally just going to training every morning, not going to college in the afternoon, like literally just wasting, like just fucking about with my mates, doing nothing productive. I just thinking, yeah, I'll just play football 5 days a week and then just not do any work and come out with no degree. Like, and it was just because I look back at it now. At the time, it was nothing to me. Like I just thought I was lazy, but I think I was just like, I don't know, I was just scared of having to be something I wasn't. If that makes sense, I never knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was always putting that pressure on myself. So I dropped out after a year of doing that, and literally just went to work for at Morrison's for a good couple of years, just stacking shelves, earn a little bit of money. Got into alcohol massively, got into gambling massively. I wasn't doing any drugs at that time, to be honest. But I was literally just about like sleeping with girls, getting pissed, as you do at that age. You know what I mean? Back in the day, like 18, 19, you just go out on the piss, sleep around, that sort of stuff. And then I met my partner around 21. Still had nothing much going for me up here, really. I was working for a company called Leah, just basically they manufacture parts for Land Rover. So I was just on the line, but I always felt like I should be doing more. because prior to all of this, my mum pushed myself and my brother into kickboxing. We were kickboxing 6 times a week from the age of 8 up until 16, 17. Fought for Team GB. So we're literally going all over the world. Fight like I've never told anyone in terms of all the people that we are in this space with at the moment in terms of YouTube. No one really knows about this other than everyone in my local community, obviously, that I'm friends with. But I was 5-time British champion, European champion. Won a silver medal at the World Championships. Still adamant to this day I got ripped off, so I'm not bitter about that at all. But that was over in Italy. But it gone from like doing all of this stuff. Like it got to a point at that time, like MMA wasn't massive then. Like it wasn't paying money. So you had loads of people that were really good, and kickboxing wasn't recognized by the Olympics. So you got to this level, but there was nowhere else to go. Like you could fight professionally in K1 and stuff, which we thought about doing, but the money, like you're talking about maybe earning 10, 20 grand over a year, which really isn't enough to then like sustain yourself doing training. You would have to pay coaches and things like that. It just wasn't a sustainable avenue at the time. So I was like, that's not going to work. I need to do something that's going to earn money. And then there's people that did stick with it, that I was in the same kind of sphere with, people like Michael Venom Page, who are fighting in Bellator, used to train with people like that. There's people that are now transitioned over to Taekwondo, fighting in the Olympics. Like these are things that I genuinely could have done, like quite easily, because of the level that I was at, had I have had the mental or had I just stuck at it. And I just decided that I didn't want to do it. And what I've started to realize is that a lot of my mental health problems stem back to thinking about the past of what I could have done.
Mm-hmm. Do you look back on that with some form of level of regret in terms of you didn't pursue it?
Daily, mate.
Daily. And do you think that that's something that probably impacts your mental health 100%. To the point where you do blame that time period, even though it was successful and even though it probably at that time done you the world of good and took you from a shit place anyway? Do you still look back and think, what if, rather than looking back and thinking, do you know what, that's such a great experience, but now I've got this ahead of me?
Mate, genuinely, like I don't know why, like I've got shivers a little bit and I'm welling up a little bit, because genuinely, like it fucks me off to the hill. Like it's like literally every day it plays on my mind. Every day.
I mean, I've got a very similar experience. I played rugby to a really, really high standard, and I got scouted by teams up and down the country, and I signed for a team, and unfortunately, to sign for that team, I had to not play for anyone else.
Yeah.
Me being me, I was big-headed. I thought I was the boy. I thought I was top quality. We just got to the Kent Cup final at school, and I thought, do you know what? I'm planning that. I've got us there. I deserve to play in it. And within 2 minutes, I'd had my medial ligament snapped in half.
Yeah.
Which wasn't my fault. I still to this day say I got pinpointed by 2 rather large players that decided they wanted to hurt me and take me out of the game.
Yeah.
And I still to this day look back with regret, thinking there's people playing for England that I played alongside and I was better than. I believe anyway.
Yeah, of course.
And I believe I would have got to the point where I could have probably been at that level.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would have been, but I probably could have been. And I'm not. And now I've got an all right job. I enjoy my job. I enjoy my team. But do I look back and think, yeah, but I could have been a professional sports star. I could have done a job that I wanted to do. And I never really even liked rugby. I wanted to play football, but
I'm with you on that.
I was wide, big, and strong, and liked hitting people legally, and I just fell into it, and I loved it when I was on the pitch. But I could never tell you about the sport because I wasn't interested. I could tell you about Newcastle United starting 11 from 5 years before I was born, but I can't tell you anything about rugby.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
I now, after all the experiences I've had with obviously attempting to take my own life, and I look back now and think, do you know what? I need to enjoy those experiences, relive them, and think about the positives that they brought to me, rather than look back and think, oh, I should be playing for England, or I should now be coming to the end of my career and thinking about what else I need to do, rather than working a normal everyday job and looking back with regret. But I can see massively from your point of view how you do look back, because I do it all the time now. I look back and I think, oh, what if?
It's mad, mate. And like, you know, it's exactly like you've just said. And the thing is, I always like there will be people that will know me that watch this and think, well, you know, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit in terms of just being able to walk into a professional line of doing kickboxing at that level or fighting at that level. But I'm not saying that I would have been a world champion or anything like that at a professional level. What I'm saying is that I could have happily made a living
Hmm.
from professional fighting. Like, definitely, just because, like I said, my mum pushed us into it. We were training 6 nights a week and then fighting every Sunday. Like, that's just what it come from, dedication. But it got to a point where you get to 16, 17, like, is it really going to go anywhere? I want to start being a teenager now, and you end up going out on the piss and all that sort of stuff. But 100%, mate, regret. Like, and I've never spoken about it with my therapist, like, which is not something I've been able to do as much over the last year. But when I was going through like CBT and things like that, I could never really put my finger on it and what it was. But I just think about it so much that I regret a lot of things in the past, and I beat myself up about it too much rather than focusing on the present, which is, for me, I think where a lot of people's mental health problems stem
Hmm.
from, is that thinking about what's going to happen in the future, and what's happened in the past, not what's happening now, and keeping yourself grounded. And that's the toughest bit, because if we could crack that completely, we wouldn't have mental health problems. That's, do
No.
you know what I mean? Um, yeah, it's just it's a difficult one. So, you know, it got to a point where we spoke about it before. Again, I wasn't conscious that it was this. I moved down to Bournemouth with my partner. We lived down there for 4 or 5 years. Loved it. Was away from everything. You know, wasn't playing football. Wasn't doing kickboxing. Was just working, making ends meet, paying the rent, and living by the beach, and just loving life at the time. Come back up here, because things were getting expensive down there, because it is essentially like London prices, to be
Oh,
fair. So it's not cheap.
dear Bournemouth. It's
Yeah,
so dear. The whole South
yeah,
Coast is dear.
absolutely. There's a reason, like, people like Harry Redknapp and that all reside on Sandbanks, which is like 10 minutes down the road. Don't you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
where we were living was expensive, and then you got £1 million houses 10 minutes down the madness? But yeah, like, come back up here, got into working in a different industry, did very well, and a lot of money from it, and kind of tried to substitute that money for what I'd not done in the past, what I'd really wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? But then got into drugs, mate. Like, I was just down all the time. Like, I could never put my finger on it. I always felt scared. I just felt down. Um, and I'd go to the doctors sometimes when I felt really low. I'd never had any intention of killing myself at this time, but I was starting to get these intrusive thoughts. So I went to the doctors, got prescribed citalopram, hated it. Like, it made me unbelievably bad for 2 weeks, which I knew was going to happen. They said it could make you worse, which was fucking horrible. Anyone who's gone through intrusive, like, suicidal thoughts, like, you know yourself, where you got to the point where you want to kill yourself, to
Hmm.
then take medication to make it better, but it makes it worse. Like,
Hmm.
it's just fucking horrendous. Um,
Just makes you think why, doesn't it? Makes you
yeah,
question. For me, it made me question it even more. So it made me think, well, if these aren't helping, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do.
yeah.
And it got to that dark point where I'm sitting there thinking, oh, these aren't working. Nothing's working. I need to just man up and do
Yeah.
it.
So I didn't get to that point with the tablets, and I absolutely understand how people could, 100%. So what I did instead was just masked it with beer.
Yeah.
Literally just go for a crate of Foster's like every other night, near enough. Um,
Well, I've said
you
to
know,
you before, actually, yours was alcohol, which I understand. I've had friends that turn to alcohol and family members that turn to alcohol, but for me, I turn to food.
yeah.
And it's ridiculous. You get the same sort of buzz off it because you're getting that rush. But I'm talking about I would gouge food. I would grab whatever I could get my hands on, and I'd be stuffing it down my face while I was trying to cook something.
Yeah,
And then I still eat
definitely.
that, and obviously I still pay repercussions now because I put on I think at my heaviest I got to about 24 stone, give or take. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
6 foot and I'm wide set anyway because of all the work I've ever done in the gyms and growing up. But you can't hold that sort of bulk on that sort of body. It just
no,
doesn't work. And I mean, lockdown's done me no favors. I've put weight on again, but it's from lack of being able to do anything. But for me, food was the big thing that I would take and subsidize my feelings for.
Yeah.
So when you talk about drinking and drugs going down that avenue, it's something like people are looking at and think, oh, I've never done anything like that. But it could be food,
100%.
gambling, smoking.
Yeah.
It could be so many different things. I think that's what people don't necessarily understand with mental health is it's not one thing. It's not, I'm an alcoholic now, therefore I've got mental health problems.
Yeah, 100%.
I knew I was sitting eating 8 packets of crisps and a donut. I had mental health problems because that was the only thing that was helping me there and then.
Definitely, man. I would look back on it, like, and this sounds really so like what you tend to find, or me personally, when I've spoken to people, is that people that have these like similar mental health problems to us, because everyone is different, but like I think we're on a level where we've been through similar sort of things. Obviously, I've not been to the point where, you know, I've been to the point where I've had a knife in my hand and I've literally about to want to cut my own throat, but not realistically, probably not going to go through with it. So, but I haven't been to where you are, where you're literally about to, you know, jump off a railway bridge, for example. Like I haven't, and whenever anyone's gone through with taking their own life, I feel how bad I felt, and I know you'll feel the same. And you just wonder, like, I just feel so sorry for people, and it breaks my heart because I just dread to think how much pain they're going through. But what I've tend to find is that a lot of people have kind of an addictive personality, because I absolutely agree. Like alcohol and drugs especially, like drugs for me was a really minimal thing, like a really short thing, like a 6-month thing. And all it come from was me just having an addictive personality. So if I look back on it now, it's like gambling, tried it, liked it, got addicted to it for a little bit, managed to kick it. Alcohol, loved it, got addicted to it. I don't drink it at all anymore. Stopped smoking in October. That was another thing. Addicted to it. Stopped smoking. But then, like even that, like I went on to nicotine gum because it gave me this little bit of a buzz. And like, even though I got over my cravings, like I kept taking nicotine gum from January up until 2 weeks ago, just because it was giving me this little bit of a buzz, because I've literally cut everything out of my life. Like you can really feel the pain when you've got some fucking pain, like when you've got nothing to mask it, like you can really feel it. So I was like, nicotine gum was giving me that much of a little buzz, like just not feeling normal for like half an hour or whatever. And this will sound ridiculous to some people, but that's just how my personality is. So now I've kicked that, I've gone like, boom. Like I'm on a real down at the moment, and I will level out, but I was just like, I feel fucking shit. Like I've got nothing, and I don't want to go back to anything. I'm going to try really hard. Like I won't smoke. Like that's done, and I don't think I'll go back to drinking either. Especially not to level up. But like I said, I've not had a drop of alcohol for a year now, I don't think.
Which is massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. Like I think you openly talking and opening up and saying, look, I'm in a shit place now. I was the same. I lost my aunt last year, and I won't get into how she died and what she died of, but I ridiculously blamed the fact that she was drinking vodka Riddles.
Yeah.
So I knocked energy drinks on the head for 6 months. I thought I ain't touching that shit ever again. Between June and December, I drank so much Monster, so much Red Bull, anything that had caffeine in it that was fizzy and would give me that buzz. I made up not drinking it for 6 months. And then I noticed my weight balloon.
Yeah.
I noticed my mood change. And I got to a point in December where I sat there and very, very strategically planned out what I was going to do in my life on my birthday. And that's the first time I've said that out loud. I've not told anyone that. So, like, I kept going around and saying to people, right, I'm going to be 34 and out on my birthday. And obviously, no one knew what I meant. No one knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I stopped drinking energy drinks on January the 1st because that was the anniversary of my auntie partying. But in stopping doing that, it, for some strange reason, it put the dark thoughts back into my head. And I thought, I'm going to get through January. I'm going to absolutely pretend everything's fine. I'm going to pretend there's no issues. I'm going to have the best month possible with the kids. I'm going to get to my birthday, spend the day on my birthday with the kids. And then I'm going to go home. I'm going to send out one text to the person that I've always loved the most. And I'm going to turn my phone off from that point. I'm going to lock my door. I'm going to leave the keys in the door, and then that's it, game over.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, I had this mental dream, And I woke up the next morning and I went, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I've reached out, and I'm really lucky. I've got a fantastic support network, whether that be family, whether that be friends, whether that be, I mean, I've made some fantastic friends at the foundation. And I sat there and I thought, I'm going to sell all my Newcastle stuff. And I've got a signed Bobby Robson shirt. You've seen actually. I showed it on the very first podcast we did.
And I remember you putting that tweet out as well, mate.
And I put it out, and I was skint. I was in a place where I wouldn't have got through the month. Like, financially, I would have really struggled.
Yeah.
And then I just saw all this feedback coming. And I saw the generosity of people. And I saw people reaching out. And I didn't want financial help necessarily. I accepted it off a couple of people. And I've always been honest and said that I accepted help off a couple of people.
Yeah.
And I would 100% sold that shirt to try and get through the month. But that moment where I sent out that tweet and the feedback I got, and I had feedback from places that I never thought I'd get, and that came from the club itself, from Newcastle, and one player in particular who I won't say his name because it's a private thing between me and him.
Mm-hmm.
Reached out to me, and it made me sit there and go, do you know what? Over the last year, I've done so much in trying to help people and so much in spreading awareness of mental health, and that I need to take a step back and practice what I preach.
Yeah.
So I reached out. I stopped drinking the energy drinks, which messed my head up completely, because they're demonic, mate. They're one of the worst things you can drink, in my opinion.
It's funny you say it, mate. Honestly, like, I'm not just saying this just to be like, oh yeah. Like, when I stopped taking Coke, and like I said, that was for like a 3 to 6 month period. Once I stopped doing that, the next thing I moved on to get that hit was energy drinks, and I had exactly the same experience. Like I said, for me, I never felt like I was going to go through with it, because when I started to get to that point, I took myself to A&E straight away, and it was because of that, like being fucking up there.
Yeah.
Like, it was, mate, horrible. So I sympathise with you on that 100%.
Oh, massively. And then I had a really challenging conversation with someone very, very close to me, and she quite frankly said, look, you need to get yourself sorted. And the minute we ended that conversation, I rang the doctors.
Yeah.
And I got put back on to my pills that I take that I can never remember the name of, but they're mental pills. Yeah. And from that point, I've steadied myself out. I'm quite a big thing on writing things down.
100%. I was just gonna, like, I have this. So I did, like, my missus got me this.
Yeah.
And like, to some people might laugh at things like this, and that's fine. Like, I don't care about that anymore, because this is what gets me through a day to day.
I sit and jot. I've been doing it. Look, I've been doing it while we've been sitting here. I scribble. I write rubbish. I write what I'm planning, and I write little things that we've said. I've jotted down, because I think, do you know what? That's something that I need to think about.
Yeah.
And I write a lot of things down, and I read it back, and I think about it, and without having the right people in the right places, for me, I probably would have done something silly.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm really grateful for the support network I've got, and I've been really lucky the last few months. Is I've sort of met a couple of people online, and we've started doing a lot of YouTube videos and just getting a lot more involved. And it's enabled me to be able to do the locker room, which I've wanted to do for ages, but I've always put it off, and I've put it off, and I've put it off. And I just think now's the perfect opportunity, with lockdown coming to an end and people are fragile and not knowing what to do and not who to talk to. But I'm doing it in the hope that by talking to other people realise their stories resonate with people.
100%.
And that they're not weird, and they're not strange for having these thoughts, because you'll be amazed in opening up. I remember the first time we spoke to each other, and we opened up slightly. And then we both, at the end of the video, went, Jesus, we've got so much in common. And we've got so many experiences that are similar. Is this the same for everyone else? And a lot of people I've spoken to have very, very similar things.
Yeah.
And it's just a way of expressing and opening up, and hoping it will reach that one person who's having a terrible time. They'll listen and they'll watch, and they'll realise that there's so much help, opportunity, and support out there for people. It's unprecedented. I mean, especially up here, you've got the main people in contact are obviously Samaritans, the doctors, the hospitals. But in terms of support and networking, we've got one of the best campaigns for mental health I've seen anywhere.
Yeah, 100%.
And I've never been shy in saying that campaign helped to put me back into a place where it saved my life. And the team they've got there are superb. And it's just, they're not there to fix your mental health. They're there to help support you in finding the right network to help your mental health. And I always I'll always be grateful to that particular campaign, people in it for helping me to get the help I needed.
Yeah. Is there I think I know we would have spoken about this, but like in terms of what your day-to-day kind of coping mechanism, or are you like me? So my missus, like I'll get to a certain way, my missus will be like straight away, have you done this? Have you done any meditation? Have you wrote anything down? And I'll be like, no, haven't done it for weeks. Then I start getting, or months, and because I feel like I'm fine, like I'm in a routine of doing whatever, like I'm at work, I'm busy, like, and I forget to do all these things that are I call them coping mechanisms, but realistically should be part of my daily routine. And then it gets to a point where it's too far gone and I feel really shit. And then you have to build yourself back up. Are you similar, or are you able now to recognize it quite early and nip it in the bud?
Mixture of both. At Christmas, I did recognize the signs, and I didn't let that engulf me.
Yeah.
Because I had a rough year last year. A lot went wrong, and a lot of it's being fixed at the moment. And I didn't realize that I'd spread myself too thin.
Yeah.
I was panicking about things. For me, one of my main things has always been I gripe about money. I panic about money, and I think if I haven't got X amount in my bank account, I'm not going to survive. And that gets me down to a point where I start telling lies and I start talking nonsense about things, and I'll start embracing my truth. I said, in terms of my mental health journey, it was like living a film.
Yeah.
Like there'd be real life where I'm at the bottom of a dustbin, like really, really curled up, struggling. But people don't see that. They see happy, laughing, successful, doing all right for money, got the perfect life, I've got the wife, I've got the 2 kids, I've got the house. And I used the Josh movie to showcase what people wanted to see.
Yeah.
And I never thought about having triggers or anything. And once I sort of opened up and realised me talking nonsense isn't helping anyone, it's hindering. Once I realised that and I started piecing things together and I had my trigger points, I could quite easily balance them. And I like walking. I find walking and getting outdoors a massive aid. And I'll use that I'll just walk for miles. I don't even care. Headphones in, music playing. I love depressing music anyway, so that doesn't make any difference to me. Depressing or upbeat, it makes no ends to me. But walking, if I find myself going on more and more walks, I know that I'm struggling.
Yeah. Okay.
Which sounds ridiculous. I don't leave myself in the house playing PlayStation or watching TV. I'll go out, and once that starts happening, I know that's my trigger point. I know shit, I'm struggling. I need to step back.
What is it? Sorry, mate. What is it about money that gets you into that mind frame, just out of interest?
The lack of it.
But
the one in, because I've always.
Let me ask you this, for example.
Go on.
Like, just before you go on with that, like, can you afford to live in your house, flat, apartment, wherever you are at the moment, comfortably, like where you're okay? What else do you need, mate?
Well, no, that's it. But I'd always convince myself that I needed more.
Yeah.
And I think that's. I'm from a part of London which is quite well off.
Yeah.
But I've never been quite well off. I'm from a family that there's 5 of us. We lived in a council flat on a council estate, and we farmed. And my dad was a dustman, which wasn't a job that you went around shouting about.
Yeah.
I went to school. I went to an all-boys school. And their dads, they lived in nice houses. Their dads were policemen and solicitors, lawyers. And even at that age, I'd lie to people, go, well, no, my dad's not a dustman. Or my mum doesn't manage pubs.
Yeah.
I'll tell them they work for the police. Or they did jobs that made us well off. When in reality now, I look back and I've got so much pride and so much admiration for my mum and dad for what they did for us all those years.
100%.
And my dad's probably better off than most solicitors anyway, because he works for the council, so he earns all right, you know.
Yeah,
And that,
I've like again, like we're learning more about each other again, but I'm so similar. Like myself and my brother, my mum, my dad. Like my dad moved down from Cramlington down to the Birmingham area, and we lived in I can't even remember. I think it was 2, maybe 3 bed, like masonette.
yeah,
So
that's
there
what
was
we had.
like
We had a masonette.
we were above a house, and there was like a concrete. It was basically like, no disrespect to my mum and dad, but it was like a really downbeat area of
Mhm.
of the town we were living in. But again, mate, like my dad at the time, he's only just left there. He was working for an electrical engineering company that he was with for 25 years. He come down here because there was no work in the northeast at all, other than being in the mines and stuff like that. My mum's been a hairdresser all of her life, and then she's got to a point where she runs a salon. Well, she's got her own salon. She's on about opening another 1 or 2 salons. But I've been exactly where you are as well, like having no money, and I've got nothing but admiration for them, because regardless of all that, they still brought me and my brother up and
Mhm.
allowed us to do everything we wanted to do. So I was always the same as well, where I was like, I want more money. I want more money. I've got to especially growing up, like, because I used to listen to a lot of like heavy metal, but a lot of rap music as well. So I wanted that lifestyle. Like I wanted to be like driving around in Lamborghinis and all sorts of stuff. And like I said, I started working this job, and over the last 3-4 years, like genuinely, I'm not saying this to gloat or anything like that. I was earning between 80 to 120 grand a year, like after tax,
Mhm.
and I hated it.
Yeah.
I fucking hated it, mate. And I've gone back now to like doing it for myself. Like last year, I wasn't earning anywhere near that. Had a massive pay cut because the company I was working for ended up going bust, partly because they were paying people that sort of money, to be fair. But it didn't make me happy, mate, because I was just
No.
spending that money on utter shit. Like I could have saved so much money, and I just didn't. And I've never been happier than just being on what I would call like an average wage, living within my means, not
Yeah.
wanting to go out and buy everything, because it just puts more pressure on me. Like obviously there's a little bit of pressure, like, you know, having to pay your rent and things like that. But as long as I can afford those and the bare necessities, I don't care anymore. Like I really don't. Like
No,
obviously I
I'm the
want
same
my
as you
child
now.
to be comfortable. I want to be but not to the point where I need to be earning millions of pounds. Like
Yeah.
I don't need that. Do you know what
Well,
I mean?
that's
Like,
it.
it made
I
me
look at
worse,
my
mate.
kids.
It
I,
made me
I look
worse.
at I look at my kids now, and I think they're so happy. They're so happy.
Yeah.
They don't go for anything. If they want something, as long as it's birthday or Christmas, they'll more than likely get it. But they don't want for anything. They don't ask for anything.
Yeah.
They're so happy, both of them. They're such a credit to me and their mum. They're absolutely amazing kids. And I think back and think, I was like that. What happened?
Yeah.
And for me, I said my journey started when I was young and progressively got worse and worse. And I think in terms of the money, it does come from living in a world where my friends had money and I didn't.
Do you know, it's like you said, I've asked you about it, like, but at times there's times where I've done it in probably the last 6 months, because I'm not earning what I was before. I do have a friendship group where some people are that wealthy. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like they are that well off, and
yeah,
that's coming from different things. They've had hardships in their past, and they've come into money, but they've also been able to set up businesses and earn a lot of money from that. Where I've kind of probably give off the same persona, where I'm still earning that kind of money, and I ain't got a pot to piss in.
yeah. I
Yeah,
was the same. I did it for years. Like I had nothing. Could barely pay the rent, and I would spend on nights out like splashing out 150, 200 quid.
yeah,
And then I'd sit there for 2 days after going, what have you done?
yeah,
But you've done it by that point. And I think now I'm at age and I'm so much more comfortable with my own makeup that I know I don't need to do that. I
yeah.
know I can go out and have a couple of pints and be very happy with that. I don't
Definitely.
need to go out and go, do you want to drink? Do you want to drink? Do you want to drink? Because I'm not buying for everyone. I'm buying for me.
I was definitely that fucking person, by the way. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
I'd go into a pub. If my mum ran a pub, I'd walk in and go, does everyone want a pint? Yeah, right, on me. And I didn't even talk to them. I'd have a pint and I'd go and sit in the corner.
Yeah.
And that. So yeah, for me, money's always been one of the massive, like, red flags. And the minute I start getting stressed out about cash, I think, right, shit, it's the point I need to step away.
I think my missus is like, she doesn't I'll say she doesn't. She'll have like some sort of not she'll have some sort of triggers where she'll feel a bit crap for a little bit. But one of her main gripes is money, and that's because she's so good with it. So
Yeah,
it annoyed her that I was like really blasé with it.
yeah. Oh, dreadful,
Yeah, but like
dreadful.
I'm not like that anymore. Like and I've got her to thank for that. But like that would probably be the only trigger that we've got at the moment. Like, and there's no reason for it. It's just one of those things where you still just think, oh, have we got enough? And I'm just like, we've got to try and get like rid of that mindset. We've got a
Yeah,
nice house. We've got a kid on the way. Like we can afford everything. Yeah, we can't. We're not going to be able to afford, like you say, to go out and spend 150 quid a week on going on the piss. Do you know what I mean? Not yet, anyway. Like it might be a thing where if business continues to go well, but it's one of those things, mate. You live within your means, and it's
yeah. Of
just
course you do.
it's trying to. I hate it because a lot of it for me comes from social media. I think there's so much pressure that's created from social media that everyone feels like they've got to be earning loads of fucking money, and
Yeah,
at the end of the day, to be happy, you really don't.
money
How many
doesn't make you
people?
happy.
I bet, mate. Like so many people that are millionaires, like there's a lot of them that, like I hate to say it, that have committed suicide because they're unhappy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at the celebrity culture and you look at the amount of young celebrities over the last few years that have committed suicide, I mean, that's from trolling or from not being as successful as they first wanted to be. You can imagine they've got so much money that they've built up into a pot that they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And they've been in that situation. I mean, there's so many celebrities that you'll hear from that go, "Oh, I started at the bottom and I've made my way up." Maybe it's just too much for them. Maybe having
Yeah.
that level of success. I mean,
Because the thing is, like you say, once you get there, you've got all this drive to get to the top. But once you're there, what the fuck? What's the
well,
point,
there's
right?
nowhere else to go, is there? You build up to
Exactly.
that. You build up and up and up to that point where you are successful, you are famous, you've got what you want. And where'd you go? There's only one way to go, isn't there?
100%. And I
Your stock's
guarantee.
never going to stay as high as you want it to.
No, definitely not. And I guarantee, of course, there's going to be lots of people out there turning around saying, "Oh yeah, but if you had money, you'd be happy." Look, things would be easier. Of course, they would be easier,
Yeah,
but they
it
wouldn't necessarily make
helps.
me happy.
You
But
can't
like
live without money.
someone said about, I know we weren't going to talk about this, but someone said about Steve Bruce last night. I was having a conversation. I was like, I would walk away, and they was like, you wouldn't walk away from 4 million. I
Of
was
course
like,
you
I
wouldn't.
guarantee you, if I was Steve Bruce, I would walk away from 4 million. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, because I've not had 4 million, but like I've had money, and there's been situations where I'm not happy. No, I'm categorically guarantee you I'd walk away with it. Not just because of the money, but like I couldn't. I now, as a person, after learning so much about myself and learn about other people and how things affect people, and been trying to be so respectful of not saying things to hurt anyone's feelings. The last thing I could do is knowingly put people's jobs and well-being at risk over
Hmm.
my financial gain. Like I couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it.
Definitely. But I think in terms of that, part of me maybe does think that he wants to try and keep us up. And he wants to
Yeah.
have that level of, it's not a success because we're dreadful. But does he want to be the man at the end of the season goes, look, I kept us up. I've done what I said I'd do. I'm going off now. But what he doesn't realise is, as manager of that football club in this region, it is everyone's escape.
Yeah.
For me, growing up, football was always my escape and was my chance to go out and not think about real life. And it's the same for everyone up here. And at the minute, you look forward to a Saturday because the match is on. But
100%.
at the minute, you don't, because you realise what you're going to be watching and how bad it's going to be. And that's making people, I mean, Twitter's a hotbed for it, of anger, resent, spitefulness, falling out with people that you don't even know and you don't necessarily talk to, but you'll call them something that's going to affect their whole day. You're going to call them a rude word. I won't say the word because, YouTube.
I
But
laugh at it. I shouldn't laugh, but like you're absolutely right. I don't mean to laugh, like, but because it's just it's terrible, isn't it? It's terrible.
it is. But I'm by no means a Steve fan. I've said on many streams he's not the right person for the job. He never was the right person for the job. It all stems to Mr. Ashley, and it all stems to what the idea is with the club. But you can see people are saying he's waiting for his payout. Ashley's not going to pay him out. He doesn't want to lose £4 million because Ashley is very much money orientated. But you can see from possibly Bruce's point of view that he does want to try and keep the club up, and he'll measure that as a successful season. And
Yeah.
but it does affect people's mental. Look at people on a Saturday afternoon after we've been beat. Look at the negativity, and that's not just on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. That is in their life. They'll
Yeah.
be having rows with their missus, with their friends, with everyone, and then they'll be sitting there drinking or smoking or overindulging, and that's the level where, for me, football is always that release and that opportunity to get away from my normal life. And when that's bad, that makes you go backwards as well.
Definitely. I think I said to you before, like I think I might have a little bit of sabbatical off Twitter. Like I don't have a big Twitter following. Mine's quite it's small, but I like it on there because it's a generic one. I haven't had to go out, and I've got nothing against people doing this at all. Like I'm all for it, like asking for followers and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not something I've had to do yet. And like
No.
I might do that just because I'm not that active on there. So mine's all come from the Newcastle Fans TV channel, which is great. So a lot of them I don't know them on a personal level, but I know them anyway. But like I said to you, mate, like I got so irate last night about the stuff that Steve Bruce about giving the lads time off. And really, when you put it into context, if it was any normal international week, I'd have no issue with it. But we're in a relegation battle after everything's gone on. I got that angry. I was throwing out all these tweets, like literally abusing Steve Bruce, which is something I'm completely against.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't practicing what I preached last night to the point where I said, "You haven't slept because I got myself that angry and worked up that I couldn't sleep."
And see how that's affected. That will now affect your day going forward as well.
Exactly. Like this morning, I was at work. I was like, I need to go home. I feel like shit.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I can't turn around to my business partner and say, lads, I've got to go home because I ain't slept all night. Do you know what I mean? It's just not. It can't be done.
But then it's a knock-on effect of everything that's going on, and it's just it does. People have their escape, and up here, Newcastle United, that escape.
Yeah.
And when it's bad, and you do let it affect you. And I can be moody for days, me, if we've lost.
100%.
Like,
I think
you just learn how to control it and realise, yes, it's your life. Yes, it does affect your mood, but don't let it affect your mood to the point that it's making you suffer.
Definitely. I think what I'm trying to take from it and still learning about, I know, but I don't, like you've said earlier, like sometimes I don't practice what I preach at all, is just taking everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. Like even YouTube, like you said yourself, there's times where you it's too late already because you've not realised how much you spread yourself too thin. Now, thankfully, I don't do that with YouTube. I enjoy it. You know, it's brilliant. But yeah, social media, I'd say to anyone, moderation. As soon as it genuinely starts affecting your mood, like that's the time to fucking switch off. And I know I've got to start doing that. My girlfriend tells me every day, like, you're on your phone, you're constantly doing this, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, but I need to do this, I need to do that. And then, like you say, you just don't realise where the time's gone. No. It's fucking 10, 11 o'clock at night. And then it's 7 o'clock in the morning. You haven't slept and you got to go to work all because you're pissed off at Steve.
Yeah. And you're straight back on your phone as well. So, yeah. But it's just finding that balance, isn't it? But what we're going to do, we're going to leave it there.
Yeah,
and we're going to waffled. Nah, man, I've loved it. I always love getting you on and having a chat about all things. But what we did, have you got any advice as to how you deal with your mental health that you'd like to leave people?
This is the Bible to me. So, like, I've said it earlier on, and like, I'm not saying for people not to take tablets. That's not what I do. I'm just saying for me, like, I don't like feeling different. So taking substances with what I've had, like cocaine, not addiction, but doing coke and alcohol and that sort of stuff, because I'm quite addictive. I don't like feeling different. So that's the only reason I don't take tablets. I know they work for a lot of people, but for me, I went down the CBT route through the NHS, and this is brilliant for me. There's also something called like the grounding effect, I think it's called, and it's basically what you do is you find 5 things to look at every time you kind of feel like you're having a bit of a moment or you're too indulged in your thoughts. You find 5 things immediately in front of you to have a look at. 4 things that you can hear, I think it is. 3 things that you can smell. I can't think. No, 2 things, something. I'll have to have a look and get back to you. On the
spot.
Yeah, and then it's 1 thing you can taste, but then just repeat that until you literally can feel yourself from being like up in the air, just like coming down a little bit. and like massive one, like you said, mate, writing everything down and just talking to people. Like the biggest thing is getting those thoughts out of your head. Like it's
Hmm.
okay to have them and accept that they're there. The worst thing you can do is fight them because they
Yeah.
just keep coming back stronger and stronger. So talking to people, writing them down, just anything that you can use as an outlet to get your thoughts out. Even if you just want to go and bury your face in the pillow and just shout whatever's going on in your head, just shout it out in the
Hmm.
pillow. It's just
Definitely.
getting it out, mate. That's
Definitely.
the biggest thing for me.
I see. I completely agree. I think I find writing things down and react to your network, speak to people, open
Yeah.
up, and let people know how you're feeling. And for me, a massive one, as I say, is walking, exercise. Find something
Yeah.
that you love to do. I mean, now
100%.
Mm.
everything's reopening again. I'm going straight back to part-time. I love it.
Yeah. My
Physicality, the screaming at people, the not being very good but giving it a go anyway.
definitely. It's mountains for me, hiking up mountains, like it's the biggest thing. Even if I'm just doing it over a day, like it's such a big achievement. And then, you know, or just walking hills,
Hmm?
any sort of walking, like you say, I just find that as a massive thing, massive release, just getting out into the nature. And it sounds really
Be at one.
hippie-fied. Just being at one, yeah,
Be at
like
one.
genuine, it makes a difference. Just switching everything electrical off
Yeah,
and just enjoying nature.
exactly. Just take a step back every now and again.
Yeah.
And that, but we're going to say thank you very much to everyone for joining us. Thank you, Karl, for coming on.
No, thank you.
No
Apologies
doubt
if
we'll.
I've waffled.
Oh man, you're all good. No doubt we'll cross paths again at some point.
Definitely.
At least once a month. We know the rules. But
100%.
that's it, everyone. Take care. Enjoy yourselves.